How to find intercepts and maximums or minimums of a parabola on your graphing calculator. One of the problems you had on your test was 3x squared plus, 3x squared plus 6x plus 9. And I always do a zoom 6 to get a general idea of the parabola. Oh, that was a minus 9. Gee whiz. Minus 9. Okay, let's graph that. Okay, let's go better. I can see my x-intercepts, but I can't see my vertex, so I am going to go to my window now, and standard is negative 10, 10, negative 10, 10. Looks like my y min, I'm going to make a negative 15. There we go. So if I want to find the x-intercepts, I go to second trace, which gives me the calculation options. And remember, we can call them x-intercepts, zeros, roots, solutions. They all have the same thing. So I'm going to find a 0. And it asks me the left bound, and then it's going to ask me the right bound. So I need to go to the left of it, and I need to go to the right of it. And I can see to the left is somewhere around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just call it negative 6 for good measure. So I'm going to say the left bound is negative 6. And the right bound is certainly 0. It's somewhere between negative 6 and 0. And so there are my arrows saying it's going to look for that 0 between those two values. It asks for a guess. I always like to skip the guess. And there it is, negative 3, 0. Now if I want to find this x-intercept, again, I go to second calc, and I'm looking for a 0. And in this case, my left bound, it's somewhere between 0 and, say, 4. So my left bound is going to be 0. So there's my arrow. It's going to look between there. And then my right bound, I'll say, is 4. So it's looking between 0 and 4. It asks if I want to make a guess. I just hit enter, and there's my other 0, 1, comma 0, or root, or solution, whatever you want to call it. I can also find the minimum, the vertex that is. So in this case, I'd be looking for 3, the minimum. And again, it needs to know where, because if your graph is more complex, there might be more than one local minimum anyway. We're going to talk about more about that when we go do parabolas. So my minimum is somewhere between negative 3 and 1. So, ooh, didn't do my left bound. My right bound. I'm going to start over. Second calc. And then I'm going to do a minimum. And, oh, needs my left bound, so I'm going to say negative 3. And then my right bound would be positive 1. So look somewhere between negative 3 and positive 1, somewhere you should find that minimum. And, you know, it's giving us this because of the pixelation, but it's negative 1, negative 12, which is what you guys found on your test. So practice that on your functions. And it doesn't matter what way you type them in. You can type them in standard form, vertex form, or intercept form. It'll graph them for you, and you can use your calculator to find those key points.